Hello and welcome. Today we are going on an incredible journey through the superhighway inside our own bodies, the blood vessels. We're going to uncover the amazing story of how our blood makes this trip and, how scientists finally solved one of biology's greatest mysteries. So, let's get right into it.
Really think about it. How does this vital fluid navigate such a complex network, delivering life to every single cell without ever getting lost? It's a puzzle that stumped some of the most brilliant minds for centuries, and today, we're going to piece it all together.
Okay, so to start our journey, we first need to understand the roads themselves. Our story really begins with these pathways for the blood vessels.
You can think of them like a massive, intricate plumbing system. These vessels are literally the tubes that carry blood everywhere it needs to go. Now, there are three main types, and each one has a very specific, very important job. We've got the powerful arteries, the steady veins, and the tiny, but absolutely crucial, capillaries.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the big difference between the two main players. See, on one side, you've got arteries. Their job is to carry blood away from the heart. And because the heart pumps with so much force, arteries need to have thick, muscular walls to handle all that pressure. Makes sense, right? Veins, on the other hand, carry blood back to the heart. The pressure is way lower by then, so their walls are thinner. But they have a secret weapon, these tiny one-way valves that make sure blood doesn't flow backward. Now remember those valves, they are a huge clue in our story.
So let's jump back in time and see how these simple facts helped unravel one of the great stories of scientific discovery. For a long time, people just had no idea how this all worked. But then, in the 16th century, a doctor found the very first clue.
So, back in 1574, an Italian doctor named Girolamo Fabrici was studying the veins in a person's leg, and he noticed these strange little flaps inside them, what we now know are valves. He figured out correctly that they only let blood flow in one direction, up, toward the heart. But here's the crazy part. He didn't realize how important this was. He found the clue, but he couldn't solve the puzzle. He just figured they were there to slow the blood down a bit.
So the mystery just sat there, unsolved, until one of Fabrici's own students came along. His name was William Harvey, and he was the detective who would finally crack the case and completely revolutionize how we understand the human body.
Harvey was just a brilliant and really methodical investigator. He started with what his teacher, Fabrizio, had found, those valves in the veins. Then he dissected hearts and saw that they had one-way valves too, pushing blood out into the arteries. And then came the experiments. He would tie off blood vessels in live animals and just watch what happened. The results were crystal clear. The veins always bulged on the side away from the heart, trying to get back, but the arteries bulged on the side towards the heart, showing that blood was trying to get out.
But his real masterstroke was a simple calculation. Harvey measured how much blood the heart pumped with every single beat. He then calculated that in just 1 hour, the heart pumps out a volume of blood equal to 3 times a person's entire body weight. There was just no way the body could make and then use up that much blood so fast. So this led to a crucial realization.
It had to be the same blood going around and around in a loop. It had to circulate. This simple, elegant idea just shattered centuries of wrong ideas. Blood wasn't some resource that got used up. It was a transport system on a continuous, never-ending journey.
And this discovery revealed that there are actually two circuits. First up is what Harvey called the pulmonary circulation. He realized that the deoxygenated blood, that's blood that's low on oxygen, gets pumped from the right side of the heart straight to the lungs. In the lungs, it drops off carbon dioxide and picks up fresh oxygen. Then this bright red oxygen-rich blood heads back to the left side of the heart.
The second circuit, systemic circulation, well, that's the grand tour. The left side of the heart gives a powerful pump, sending that oxygen-rich blood out to the rest of the body, your brain, your muscles, all the way to your toes, everywhere. The body's cells grab the oxygen they need, and the now deoxygenated blood makes the long trip all the way back to the right side of the heart, ready to go to the lungs and start all over again.
And that's exactly why we call it double circulation. For one complete trip around the entire body, the blood actually has to pass through the heart twice, once on its way to the lungs, and then a second time on its way out to the body. It is an incredibly efficient system. But there was one little problem with Harvey's theory, a missing link. He knew he was right, but he just couldn't prove one last crucial piece of the puzzle. It was going to take a brand new piece of technology and another brilliant scientist to find that final clue.
This was the big question hanging over everything. If arteries carried blood away and veins brought it back, well, how did the blood get from the end of the arteries to the beginning of the veins? Harvey guessed there had to be some kind of microscopic connection, but with the tools he had back then, he could never, ever see them.
And then enter Marcello Malpighi. So in the 1650s, this revolutionary new tool was invented, the microscope. Malpighi used it to look at something very thin, the membrane of a bat's wing. And there they were. For the first time in human history, he could actually see these incredibly fine little vessels that formed a network, connecting the tiniest arteries to the tiniest veins. Harvey's missing link had been found.
Malpighi called these tiny vessels capillaries, which comes from the Latin word for hair, because they were just so incredibly fine. And this discovery completed the entire picture. The capillaries, it turns out, were where all the action happens, where oxygen and nutrients get delivered to the cells and all the waste gets picked up. The puzzle was finally completely solved.
What makes Harvey's work so incredible is that you can prove his main idea with a super simple experiment that anyone can do. You don't need any fancy equipment at all.
So this is Harvey's famous demonstration. If you tie a band, like a tourniquet, around your upper arm, not too tight, you'll see the veins below it start to pop out. That's because you're trapping the blood that's trying to get back to your heart. Now, for the cool part. If you press down on one of those veins and kind of milk the blood away from your heart towards your hand, you'll see that that section of the vein stays empty. Why? Because those little valves we talked about are preventing blood from flowing backward to fill it up. It's a brilliant, simple way to show that blood in the veins only flows in one direction, towards the heart.
All right, for all of you studying this for an exam, this slide is your golden ticket. Let's run through it real quick. First, you've got to know the 3 main types of blood vessels and what they do. Next, you absolutely have to remember the name William Harvey. He's the guy who figured out that blood circulates. Then, you'll need to be able to explain double circulation really clearly, talking about both the pulmonary and systemic circuits. And don't forget Marcello Malpighi, who used the microscope to find the capillaries. Finally, make sure you can explain what Harvey's tourniquet experiment proved about that one-way blood flow in veins. If you've got these points down, you are going to do great.
So in the end, this incredible story of discovery reveals a really profound truth about our own bodies. From a missed clue about some simple valves to a revolutionary idea that was confirmed by a new invention, we learned that our blood is on a constant, vital journey. This perpetual motion, from the heart to the body and back again, well, that's the very rhythm of life itself. Thanks so much for joining me today.